For almost a century, this old suitcase lay untouched in a family attic, sealed by a mother who couldn't bear to open it. Inside, and perfectly preserved, was the most incredible collection of artifacts relating to one man's life and death in the First World War. Join us as we open that time capsule, explore the contents, uncover the secrets locked within, and with the help of modern technology, personal testimony, and wartime records, recount the remarkable life of Private Ted Ambrose. Born in the tranquil Hertfordshire village of Cottred in 1898, Ernest Edward, or Ted Ambrose, was from a solid working-class background. His father Samuel, a farm bailiff, and his mother Harriet, a housekeeper, raised him and his 4 younger siblings in the nearby village of Wallington. At around 16, likely on a relatively rare visit to the nearby town of Baldock, he met a young girl named Gladys Rands, to whom he began to write. The unprecedented period of peace in Britain during Ted's childhood came to an abrupt end in early August of 1914, when the storm clouds of war began to gather over Europe. Within days, Britain had joined the conflict and millions of lives would be forever changed. Ted would not escape that fate. Like so many others, the 17-year-old would volunteer to join the army and do his bit for king and country. Despite being officially well underage for military service, he managed to enlist in the Bedfordshire Regiment on the 5th of July 1915. Over the next months, he learned his trade, marching, shooting, digging trenches and conducting bayonet drill, all skills required to fight and survive on the Western Front. Contrary to popular belief, Ted and the men of his draft weren't immediately rushed off to the front, but rather continued training until the new year, when finally the call came that the men would soon be on their way to war. That group, draft number 6, posed for this powerful photo about that same time. Somewhere amongst these faces, though personally I can't be sure which, must be Private Ted Ambrose, still only 18 years of age. Can you identify him here? Let us know which man you think he is. Turning back to Ted's belongings, let's explore a few items, each of which tell us a little more about his life as a soldier. Like this, a simple button stick, used to protect his uniform from being stained by brass polish when cleaning his tunic buttons. Hard to make out, but scratched into the metal are his initials EA, to dissuade his lighter-fingered comrades from appropriating it. Then his cap badge and single shoulder title identifying the unit in which he proudly served. They sit on top of this, a soldier's Bible, sized to fit into a tunic breast pocket and be carried on the battlefield. Just here is a privately purchased soldier's mirror, polished metal rather than glass to withstand the rigours of trench warfare. Also, there's his cigarette case, French-bought rolling papers, pipe and tobacco pouch, still full with the contents from the last time it was lit. There's also a soldier's phrase book named Parlez-vous, maybe a gift from Ted's parents before his departure to help him in France. A glance inside shows us that not only is it filled with elements to form useful phrases such as "the bandage is too tight," but also includes a spoken thus section to help pronunciation. Le bandage est trop serré, ideal for someone who'd never left their county, let alone their country. A charming detail can also be found inside. Ted's hand-sketched attempts to draw his Bedfordshire Regiment cap badge clearly started in a rare moment of spare time, but destined never to be finished. There's also this locket containing photos of Ted and his sweetheart Gladys, a powerful symbol of a growing young romance. And then, my personal favourite is this, a beautifully written and safely kept letter to Ted, a message from a father to his son, which in part reads, "Dear son, just a few lines to you, trusting they'll find you quite well and in the best of health. No doubt you'll think it's strange to get a letter from Dad, but I thought I must just write you a few lines before you sail away from home. I remind you that you are quite young, so therefore you must try and take great care of yourself, and don't forget to ask your Heavenly Father to help you. We will all pray to God for you and for your safe return home again when the war is ended, and trust in Him that it may soon be finished with a lasting peace so that we all live happily again. Take great care of this letter and read it sometimes, and then you won't forget to do what I've asked of you. Let us know as often as you can how you're getting along and if there is anything that you want, if we can. I think this is all, so with our best love from one and all to you and heaps of kisses, your loving Dad." For me at least, there's something incredibly moving about this. It's the precision with which it was written by Ted's father, who clearly, from the care he took, also felt it was something of great importance. The note too from Ted's mum just here is extremely touching, and no doubt this letter meant a huge amount to Ted, with its survival to this day being powerful evidence of that. Before we continue, I want to take a moment to thank our sponsor and a product I genuinely recommend, CyberGhost VPN. We spend so much time researching, reading, and streaming from all over the world, and staying safe online has never been more important. That's where CyberGhost comes in. With over 38 million users worldwide and more than 20,000 excellent reviews on Trustpilot, CyberGhost is one of the most trusted VPNs available. It encrypts and reroutes all your traffic through secure servers in over 100 countries, keeping your data private from internet providers, public Wi-Fi snoopers, or anyone who might be watching. And if, like us, you love history documentaries when traveling, CyberGhost can unlock content from over 40 streaming services, including Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, and Disney+. It works on Windows, Mac, Android, iOS, and more, and lets you protect up to 7 devices at once, perfect for family or friends. CyberGhost keeps no logs whatsoever, not even they know what you do online. Right now, they're offering our viewers 84% off, just $2.03 a month, plus 4 months completely free. And there's a 45-day money-back guarantee. You can try it completely risk-free. Click the link in the description below. Stay safe, stay private, and explore the world securely with CyberGhost VPN. So it was, in February 1916, Ted Ambrose, with his comrades by his side, headed for the Western Front to join A Company of the 6th Battalion Bevchy Regiment, who were already in the trenches. Records of their movements, in the form of a war diary which chart their day-to-day progress on the battlefield, tell us that the 6th Beds, when Ted and his comrades joined, were located just here, around the small town of Bienvier, about midway between the city of Arras and the Somme River. Over the next few weeks, the war diary reports that regular enemy shelling, trench mortars and sniping took their toll, as did the weather, with snow regularly reported. For new soldiers like Ted, getting used to a new way of life, everything from sentry duty, trench repairs, to simply learning how to walk through trenches without being targeted by enemy snipers would have been a very steep learning curve. Surviving records tell us that Private Ambrose's luck wasn't great, and almost immediately on entering the trenches, an enemy shell exploded right next to him, leaving him partially deaf for some time, which led to a spell in hospital. An intriguing item found amongst Ted's personal effects may hint at this moment. Inside this leather wallet were 2 chunks of shrapnel, clearly collected and kept by Ted, maybe as a good luck charm or a reminder of that near miss. Whatever it was, he felt the need to keep them as a souvenir, and they offer a powerful glimpse into the dangers of life in the front lines. Only days after returning to the front, he again met with misfortune, this time falling ill, which led to 2 more spells in hospital. This letter to his parents at least shows that he could see the humorous side of his malady. Dear M&F, just a line to say I'm sorry to tell you that I am in the hospital, and what should you think? With German measles. That won't be very pleasing to you. Well, I hope you won't worry because I'm going on quite well. Well, I received a little parcel on Friday with a pocket case and I went into hospital on Saturday. I'm not sending you the new address as we're not settled here. We'll send you the new address as soon as possible and we'll write and let you know as often as I can how I'm getting on. Now must close, from your loving son, Ted. Whilst in hospital, Ted also wrote to his sweetheart Gladys, who quickly replied, light-heartedly accusing him of acquiring his illness by cuddling German girls. A few days later, she sent another, complete with the latest gossip.
My dear Ted, just a few lines in answer to your letter which I got quite safe Friday. Sorry to hear you're in the hospital again. If you go in there many more times, they will say you are unfit for the front, and then they will send you home, and then won't that be nice? Does your ear get any better? Do you think you will get to England? I don't suppose you will if they can cure you out there. Well, dear, I bet you thought you were gone that time. My dear old boy, I should just like to meet you in the street and did not know you were home. Wouldn't that be a surprise? I have got your address from your mother this morning. All the children have had measles, and I wonder how Albert likes having them. Not much, I bet. Sorry to say, Hilda is getting off with the signal man now. If I was her, I would be ashamed to have so many fellows on as she does. I don't think Jim has gone to the front yet, and they used to talk about coming over and seeing her. I don't know what he would say if he saw her with the other one. Have you heard from Walter yet? You will be pleased to hear that I have found out that it is not right that you write to another girl. I have no more news this time, so I will close wishing you the best of luck from your only loving girl, Gladys.
A short time later, Ted was back with the 6th Beds, this time moving south along with hundreds of thousands of other men, their destination, the Somme. Today known as one of the most infamous battles of the First World War, the Somme is somewhat misunderstood. Hailed as the big push and often as an attack meant to end the war, the intention was in fact quite the opposite. Ever since the German army had launched a huge offensive around the vital city of Verdun, the French had been pushing for the British to make a counterstroke further up the line in hopes of stretching the Germans more thinly and therefore buying breathing space for the hard-pressed French army. And so, that attack launched in July 1916 was not meant to be a war winner, but paradoxically, if successful, one that would ensure that the war would go on. All this would have meant very little to Private Ambrose and his mates, who only knew that a big attack was coming. Fortunately for Ted, his fate didn't lie with going over the top on the 1st of July 1916, which turned out to be the bloodiest day in the modern history of the British Army, with a staggering 19,240 men killed in a single day. That's one man every 4.4 seconds for a 24-hour period. But instead, he and his comrades would form the reserve, ready to push on in the next phase of the attack. Having managed several weeks without misfortune in the build-up to the offensive, he wrote to Gladys, who replied on the 24th of June, offering a little welcome news of life at home.
My dear boy, just a few lines in answer to your most loving letter which I got quite safe this morning. Glad to hear you are quite well and that you think your luck has changed. Did you know Sam Clark of Sandon when you were at Ampthill has been out in France and got killed on the 19th of May? He was only out there a fortnight. Well, dear, I'm enclosing a small packet of cigarettes, which I hope you will like. Perhaps you will get them if I send them like this, rather than one big packet. Ain't we having some rotten weather again? There are no more soldiers to come yet, but they are going to try and get some, as it has made the trade so bad for the town. No more news, so we'll close with best love and kisses from your only loving girl, Gladys.
Looking back into Ted's case, just perhaps those very cigarettes bought by Gladys and last touched by Ted himself are preserved right here, with the brand Red Hussar still visible. On the battlefield in the days to come, things would change drastically. No longer was Ted in a quiet sector where random artillery and snipers formed the major danger. Now he was in an active battle zone where everything was dangerous. Throughout the first few days of July, British forces had pushed forwards against stubborn resistance and thousands had fallen to artillery, machine guns and rifle fire. A look at the 6th Bedfordshire's war diary allows us to follow Private Ambrose as they moved up the line. 6th of July, battalion moved to Miancourt by lorries. 7th of July, battalion moved to Usna-Tara line east of Albert. 8th of July, battalion moved into the front line trenches at night, forming a defensive flank in the event of hostile attack from Contalmaison. Casualties, 4 other ranks killed, 14 wounded. A look at a trench map compiled at the time and showing the Somme battlefields in 1916 allows us to pinpoint the location that Ted and the men of the 6th were occupying on the night of the 8th of July. By comparing it with records of the 112th Brigade, of which the 6th Bedfords were a part, we find this confidential document showing the precise dispositions of each unit on that date. Highlighted here are the Bedfords' exact coordinates on the trench map, namely holding a trench from X14D92 to X15D41. By comparing existing geographical features common to both the trench map and the modern view, lining those up precisely and overlaying the image onto the modern satellite view, we can follow the coordinates exactly. First by finding the 4 smaller squares that make up segment 14 in the coordinates, i.e. here. Then we find quadrant D, this one, now 0.9, that is to say 9/10 along the bottom of the square from left to right, and 2, that is 2/10 up the square from the bottom, and where those 2 points meet is our first coordinate. That is to say, right here. Repeating the process in square 15 next to it, we find 15D41 is right here. And so we learn that the 6th Bedfords on the 8th, 9th of July 1916 occupied this former German trench for a total distance of 730 yards. By blending the map back out, but leaving the trench line on, we can identify the very field in which it once ran, and the line somewhere along which Private Ambrose found himself that night. Despite the extremely busy and dangerous environment he was operating in, Ted had managed to find a few minutes to scribble a couple of lines back home to his parents, deciding not to comment on the ongoing battle. My dear M&F, I now take the pleasure in answering your nice letter that I got yesterday, as I ought to have answered you before. I sent you a card to say I am quite well and hope that you're all the same, and to say I had your letter. Well, I enjoyed your cake very much, as I just finished it yesterday. I made this one last longer and I enjoyed it, it was very nice. Well, how is Auntie Nellie and Grandmother? Did they come and see you? I wish I was there so as I could see them once again, as it seems a very long time since I came out here. It seems like 12 months, but actually it's about 6. Well, I'm thinking about the time when we get back. We shan't know what to do with ourselves. Well, I can't think of much to say this time, so I'll end my letter, sending you all the best of love and kisses. I remain your loving son, Ted. They didn't know it, but this would be the last time they would hear from their boy. Returning to the war diary of the Bedfordshire Regiment, we learn that early the following morning, as the men were preparing for another day in the front lines, a huge German artillery bombardment slammed into their trenches, and over the next 60 minutes, hundreds of rounds pulverised their position, tearing up the ground, killing 15 men and wounding a further 75, who could do nothing but find any available cover and trust to luck. Amongst those to appear the following day in the list of wounded was Private 22170 E. Ambrose. Like so many others, Ted's rapid journey and prompt treatment from the point of wounding was vital to his chances of survival. Immediately, he would have been seen by the regimental medical officer, the battalion's doctor, who would have stabilised him as best he could before instructing stretcher bearers of the Royal Army Medical Corps to take him back via a series of communication trenches to the nearest ADS or advanced dressing station. Here he would again be seen and triaged, with pain medication administered before being sent further along the casualty evacuation chain, probably by motor ambulance. Within 24 hours of being wounded, Ted was likely well away from the front line and heading for a much larger medical facility, one of the casualty clearing stations, set up to deal with the thousands of wounded flooding in from the fighting on the Somme. It's not known today whether Ted, who was gravely wounded in the head and leg, was conscious throughout that time, but given that he passed quickly along the medical evacuation chain, it seems likely that the staff manning the various triage posts and prioritising those cases who needed it most had decided that he at least had some chance of survival. By the 12th of July at the latest, Ted Ambrose had arrived at the huge Red Cross base hospital all the way back on the French coast near the town of Etaples, some 90 kilometres from where he was wounded. Here, complex surgery, wound cleaning, bone setting, and any number of detailed procedures could be undertaken in safety, with more than 9 out of 10 of those patients passing through Etaples surviving the experience. In fact, the very next stop from here was a hospital ship home, back to Britain. The next information we have can be found in this faded telegram, written by a chaplain at Etaples Red Cross Hospital, whose role was to comfort the wounded and contact their families with news of their loved ones. It reads as follows. Regret to inform you, 22170 Private E. Ambrose, 6th Bedfords, is dangerously ill, GSW to head and right leg, in the British Red Cross Hospital, Etaples. Regret permission to visit him cannot be granted. This powerful report, preserved since 1916, is revealing in several ways. First, it shows Ted's family has by now received news that he was wounded. This, along with family law, confirms his mother has even taken steps to ask if she can travel all the way to France to visit him. The reference to Ted's wounds, noting he was dangerously ill, GSW to head and right leg, is something of a misnomer, as GSW, or gunshot wound in the parlance of the day, was something of a catch-all, and in Ted's case actually referred to either shell splinter or shrapnel, which had caused his multiple injuries. Finally, the seemingly callous response that permission to visit cannot be granted takes on a new meaning when we examine the writing and stamp in the top corner of this telegram, showing that the message was received at 2:17 p.m. on the 14th of July 1916. It was too late. Ted Ambrose had passed away by the time she read it. Following his death, Ted's parents, no doubt distraught at the loss of their firstborn son, were faced with further heartache as some days or perhaps weeks later, his personal possessions returned home without him. Parcelled into this cotton sack and marked with this label, his possessions, including a number stained in his own blood, would have arrived at the family in what must have been an absolutely heartbreaking experience. Within a day or two of Ted's death, that same chaplain who wrote to Mrs. Ambrose would officiate over his funeral, conducted with full military honours at what is today Etaples Military Cemetery. It's a powerful place where more than 11,500 fallen servicemen of the Great War are buried. And it means a lot to me too, as amongst them, alongside Ted Ambrose, is my own great-great-grandfather, killed in 1917 at the Battle of Arras. We'll never know exactly what that time period was like for the Ambrose family, but we do have a few clues. Things like this frame with his portrait, which reportedly hung in pride of place in the family home for years, and of course, the suitcase itself. Ted's story has always been personal to me, and one I'm glad we get to share here, as it was I who got that phone call in 2014, whilst working on the Hearts at War project commemorating the centenary of the First World War, and I was fortunate enough to be the person who opened that case for the first time, an experience I'll never forget. That Ted's possessions were so well kept speaks for itself, and whether Mr. and Mrs. Ambrose opened that case from time to time, in truth, we'll never know. Though we do know that it was at least opened once in 1920, to add these 2 posthumous medals, awarded in respect of Ted's military service. Beyond that, we can only speculate. Perhaps the memory of a lost loved one was simply too painful to revisit. It is clear, though, that when Mr. and Mrs. Ambrose passed away many years later, the suitcase remained, and today that time capsule of one man's life served as a powerful reminder of service and sacrifice in the First World War. Thanks for watching. We want to thank the team at Hearts at War, whose ongoing research into the lives of the servicemen from Hertfordshire in the Great War is a powerful memorial to the fallen. And for those with a passion for World War I, why not consider tuning into Not So Quiet on the Western Front, our dedicated podcast, where each week, myself and my co-host Dr. Spencer Jones explore some incredible episodes from throughout the conflict. Catch it right here on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to click the link in the description to grab the special CyberGhost VPN discount available for our viewers. It keeps your data safe while you browse and unlocks all blocked content online, all for just $2.03 a month. It's completely risk-free, so check it out today. That's all this time. We'll see you again soon.